College football week 5 is here in full effect, and it promises to be deceptively good. Now, there's a handful of high-profile games that are going to get the lion's share of attention this week, but I think the strength of week 5 is actually in that middle tier of games that aren't necessarily going to get a lot of press, but I think will be outstanding to watch. The most high-profile game of the week will certainly be USC at Colorado. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. This one is actually an early start, an 11 a.m. Central start, so a little bit of an unusual kick for a Pac-12 game, but it promises to bring a ton of viewers. Coach Deion Sanders of Colorado has delivered the viewers consistently throughout his tenure as Colorado coach. I expect this to be no different. Now, interestingly, as of the time of this recording, the line for this football game is USC by 21.5. I'm not sure the margin of victory for the Trojans is actually going to be that big, even after Colorado's blowout loss to Oregon last week. Because for all the things that Coach Prime is or is not, one thing I know is true. He is going to be riding his team's rear end all week during practice. They're not going to put forth the same kind of low effort you saw in that Oregon game. They're going to be playing their hearts out Saturday against USC because, quite frankly, pride is on the line. And if there's one thing that Coach Prime does not lack, it is pride. As such, I've got USC winning this game by a score of 44-31. It will be a high-scoring affair. Maybe a little bit of a back-and-forth affair in the first half. I think eventually, though, the talent differential wins out at the end. And USC takes this game by 13 points. Other games of note starting on Friday. Oregon State hosting Utah. Friday at 8 p.m. Central. Currently, the Beavers are on a 6-game win streak at home. Utah comes into Corvallis ranked number 10 in the country, with a 4-0 record overall, 1-0 in the Pac-12 so far. I've got Oregon State pulling the upset and winning 30-27 over Utah. In another Friday night matchup, a Big 12 matchup, BYU hosts Cincinnati. This is a late game, a 9:15 Central kick. Both teams debuting this season in the Big 12 Conference. I've got BYU edging out Cincinnati at home by a score of 28-24. Saturday at 11 a.m., Arkansas and Texas A&M in the Southwest Classic. A&M currently favored to win this game. I've got the Razorbacks pulling off the upset by a score of 24-21 in Jerry World. Sticking with the 11 a.m. Central kick on Saturday, we have Kentucky hosting Florida in this matchup. I've got the Wildcats winning by 3, 31-28 over the Gators, derailing the little bit of momentum that the Gators have managed to build this season. Moving to 2:30 Central, the SEC Game of the Week on CBS, we see Georgia on the road at Auburn. I see Georgia continuing its win streak, winning 28-17 on the road. Not necessarily a hugely impressive win by Georgia, but a win nonetheless. Also at 2:30 Central, Texas Tech hosting Houston. This one should be a classic Big 12 shootout. I expect this will be a fun game to watch. In this matchup, I've got the Red Raiders winning 38-35. Staying at 2:30, we've got Texas hosting Kansas. There's a lot of talk about Kansas pulling off the upset in this matchup. I just don't see this happening. Texas is just the better team overall, and they are riding an insanely big hot streak right now. I've got the Longhorns winning by a score of 42-21 over the Jayhawks. Now, staying at the second window, we see Michigan on the road at Nebraska. Nebraska has been hugely disappointing this season. I think Coach Matt Rule has them on the right track. It's just going to be a tough season for the Huskers. In this matchup, I've got Michigan winning by a score of 35-10 on the road in Lincoln. Moving to the third window, 5 p.m. Central, LSU on the road at Ole Miss. This one's not going to be particularly close. I've got LSU winning 48-20. In the Big 12, we've got Iowa State on the road facing Oklahoma. This could be the last time these two teams play for quite some time. And this rivalry, of course, goes back all the way to the days of the Big 8 Conference. Unfortunately for Iowa State, I don't see this being a close affair. Oklahoma will win big by a score of 45-14. Staying in that third window, 6:30 p.m. Central kick, we have Notre Dame on the road at Duke. A lot of people are kind of thinking that Duke is going to pull off the upset in this game. I do not see that happening. Notre Dame very upset after losing a close game at home to Ohio State. I've got the Irish winning on the road by a score of 38-24 over the Blue Devils of Duke. In a relatively late kick for the SEC, 8 p.m. Central, we have Alabama on the road at Mississippi State. Last week, Alabama pulled off a very nice victory at home over Ole Miss. I think they continue that streak, and they defeat Mississippi State by a score of 27-13 on the road in Starkville. And finally, wrapping up this week's slate with an SEC matchup, we see Tennessee hosting South Carolina. The Volunteers are coming off a very, very disappointing loss to Florida, and in this game, they are favored to win by 12 points over South Carolina. I suspect Tennessee absolutely covers that spread. They defeat South Carolina at home by a score of 35-21. Now, last week I had a 9-3 record, which brought my season performance to 31-14. And as I said at the beginning of this broadcast, I think Week 5 is going to be a thoroughly entertaining week of college football. There are certainly a handful of high-profile matchups that are getting a lot of people's attention, namely USC Colorado. But the real strength of Week 5 is in that middle section. There's a lot of just solid football games being played this weekend, especially in that second window. So hopefully you enjoy watching your college football this Friday and Saturday. Hopefully your team wins, whoever that might be. And I say God bless each and every one of you. I'll talk to you later.